I work as a pizza delivery driver. Some deliveries have red flags for special rules. I should have known the delivery job was a bad gig when the guy hired me without looking past my name on my resume. He squinted at the paper and said, "You're hired, Dino." He pronounced it Dino. "It's actually Dino," I told him. "Like Dinosaur." He glared at me, rough-looking Italian type who probably kept a baseball bat under the counter and would pull it out if annoyed by mouthy teens. Squinted hard at my shirt, which was wrinkled, and said Peak Mediocrity. He grunted. "Honesty. I like that." "Thanks. Are you good at following rules?" "I am mediocre at there are some rules you have to follow. For safety. Others I can let slide. I don't give a damn if you smoke weed in the car or show up a few minutes late. But if a rule is written on a red flag on the box, you follow it." I hadn't even committed to accepting the job yet. Also felt a bit called out at his weed in the car and few minutes late comments, though I guess the Peak Mediocrity shirt did give a certain vibe. Before I could ask him about wages or hours or these red flag rules, he grabbed a pizza off the counter, put it in my hands, and pointed to a set of keys on the wall, telling me to take the delivery car. The address was only a few blocks away. The red note on the pizza box said, "Close your eyes when you reach the address. Put the pizza inside on the table. Do not open your eyes." In his hand, the boss was holding a $50 bill. He held my gaze, the bill held toward me. I looked at him, looked at the red flag, looked at the bill. I took the bill. "Got it," I said. Eyes closed when I arrive. No problemo. It turned out to be a big problemo. The address was so close, I didn't even really need the delivery car, though I took it anyway because he said it was tricky to find, but the car's GPS would help. Even so, I circled the block 3 times before the house seemed to materialize out of the dark, like I'd just overlooked it before. It wasn't big, just a small place tucked in the middle of an urban center, like it should have been bulldozed and replaced by high rises ages ago, but the owners never sold. I walked up the gravel walkway to the front door and put on a blindfold to help me obey the instructions. Then knocked, keeping my eyes closed beneath the blindfold. "Hello," said a little kid's voice as the door opened. "Pizza delivery," I said. "Oh, great, thank you." I waited for the child to take the pizza, but it was still in my hand. I frowned. Are you going to why are you wearing a blindfold?" asked the kid. Boy or girl, I couldn't tell. The high-pitched voice sounded about 8 years old. "Because I want to," I said. "Why?" "Trade secret." "Are you going to take this pizza, or what? Can you put it on the table?" I was about to ask the kid to just take it when I remembered that putting the pizza on the table was part of the instructions. I considered just opening my eyes and forgetting the rules, but I was being paid $50 to follow them, so I said, "Oak, can you tell me which way the table is?" "It's straight ahead of you." I almost tripped stepping inside over the threshold, but caught myself and moved forward, feeling around awkwardly, while the kid giggled and said, "Warmer, colder, colder, warmer, hot." And then, when I ran into a wall, "Just kidding, it's to your left." "No, other left." This fucking kid. I cannot tell you how badly I wanted to open my eyes. It felt incredibly silly, holding them shut the whole time. Finally, I found the fucking table and set down the pizza. But by now, I'd lost sense of direction. I inwardly groaned as I heard myself ask, trying not to let my exasperation show, "Which way is the door?" The kid giggled, more groping around in the dark, to the constant teasing and the demand I just peek and look around. I was seriously tempted, but by this point it was just a battle of wills. I spent 5 minutes uselessly following the kid's circular directions before I wised up and went straight until I hit a wall. Then groped along it until I found a door. The door opened to another room in the house. I could tell because the carpet continued inside, and also by the smell, which was sour. Rotten. Just a whiff was enough for me to shut the door and wrinkle my nose. I continued to feel along the walls, and finally I found the door to the fresh outdoor air. I was stepping down when wait, I forgot. Mom and Dad said to give you a tip. A tip. Greed waged a battle against better judgment. As anyone who knows me can guess, greed won handily. I turned back around and held out my hand. Here, said the kid. I felt a crumpled bill graze my fingers, but it fell to the ground. Oops, said the kid, as I swore and dropped down, feeling around. I grabbed the bill, quickly pocketed it, and felt my way out of the house. Bye, said the kid. Enjoy your pizza. Thanks for the tip, kiddo, I said. Then I turned away, taking several steps before opening my eyes to the street and running. Took off my blindfold, dove into my car, and sat there panting, wondering what the hell had just happened. The kid. The moment the kid dropped the cash, I'd bent down to snatch it, feeling around on the carpet, but just for a split second, in reflex, my eyes had opened behind the blindfold. Just enough for me to see through a gap beneath the bottom of the cloth, and I'd glimpsed the crumpled bill next to the hairy toes and large foot of an adult man. Not a 7 or 8-year-old child. I'd shut my eyes while the kid voice came out of whatever adult body that was and said, "Oops," and I'd pretended to still be blind. When I got back to the pizzeria, I finally checked the wadded up bill, and it was a 20. $70 total, and I'd spent about half an hour, though it had felt like a lot longer that I was playing blind man's bluff with that fucking kiter, man. The boss said, "Next one's ready for you," without looking up from the dough he was kneading, and I just stood there, staring at the pizza on the counter with the slip of paper on top of it. At my prolonged silence, he finally glanced over and gruffly said, "You followed the rules, right? Yup-ish. The fuck's a yup-ish?" He glared. "You either did or you didn't." "These rules, what happens if you don't follow them?" I asked. He sighed. "Go home." "Wait, go home. I can't have employees who can't follow simple I followed them. It's just a question. I'm just wondering, why the odd rules? Why you had me deliver a pizza to a little kid while keeping my eyes closed?" Instead of answering my question, he heaved a long sigh, shook his head, and said, "Dino, Dino. Let me tell you about the last pizza delivery gal I had. She had a delivery to an apartment. Simple rules. Door will be unlocked. Leave the pizza on the coffee table. Touch nothing. Take nothing. But she took something, so she stole?" I said. "From this apartment?" "Yeah, I guess you could say that." He looked a bit deflated. She didn't mean to, but that's how the client took it. Anyway, she doesn't work here anymore. The way he said "doesn't work here anymore" was the way you'd say "my condolences." I was going to ask him more, but he gruffly turned his back and grabbed a shirt off a rack and handed it to me. "Your uniform, since you're determined to stay. It's an extra large, but an oversized shirt is probably okay for a tomboy like you, yeah?" I'm not a tomboy. People mistake my lack of fashion for tomboyishness, but in fact I am just much too lazy to perform femininity. I pulled the oversized t-shirt on over my Peak Mediocrity shirt, and I could have fit 3 of me comfortably in here. The boss gave me a thumbs up and lied that I looked great and handed me the next pizza and said, "Just pay attention to the red flags. Pay is good. You can last a long time here, but you gotta follow the rules." I looked at the pizza box. On it was a red flag with the simplest of instructions. Door will be unlocked. Leave the pizza on the coffee table. Touch nothing. Take nothing. The job that got the previous girl fired? Challenge accepted. Mainly due to the $100 that was also in his hand. and the fact the address was only a 15-minute drive. While driving, I had some time to reflect on my life choices, and on whether accepting this sketchy gig was really a good idea. Not that I had many options, with rent due and my parents telling me they couldn't keep sending me money if I couldn't keep a job. If you're wondering why anyone is named Dinosaur, because yes, that is my full name, Dino is a nickname, it's because my parents are hippies who believe kids should decide their own identities and asked me at age 4 what I wanted to be called. Honestly, when I chose the name Dinosaur, that should have been an indication to my folks that I am not up to the task of making my own decisions and living with them. And that's what I was thinking about, my not-so-stellar decision-making abilities, when I pulled up to the address on the note, and it was this creepy-ass motel where all the rooms were completely dark except for a single lit window. If I were a serial killer and gonna hide a body at a motel, this is the one I'd have done it at. Briefly, I considered pocketing the $100 and running, just not delivering that pizza and not showing up for work. I looked at the note. Door will be unlocked. Leave the pizza on the coffee table. Touch nothing. Take nothing. Oak Dino, I told myself. Come on, even you can follow directions this simple. I got out of the car, snatched up the pizza, and headed up the darkened stairs, the metal steps resounding under my boots. Walked out along the walkway, counting the rooms, shining my flashlight to see the numbers because again, this place was pitch dark all except that one lit window. And of course, that was the one that matched the address, room 213. I knocked. No answer. I knew I was supposed to go in, but I was irrationally, or totally rationally, nervous. After waiting a few seconds, I tried the door, and it swung open easily. I wasn't prepared for what was inside. I stepped into my own apartment. It made no sense. This was my shitty little studio, exactly the way I'd left it this morning. In the far corner, my unmade bed on the floor right down, where my expectations tend to be. My dishes were in the sink in the tiny kitchen, starting to smell pretty bad because it was day 3 of avoiding them. I could, and definitely would, make the stack higher though. Beside the door was the trash I forgot to take out that morning. I could have taken it right now, touch nothing. Take nothing. I stood there, holding that fucking pizza box in my hand, looking at my own apartment. Was this a joke? A test? A delusional episode? Was I high? I tried to remember if I was high. Didn't think so. I stepped inside, walked over to the coffee table with this morning's plate still with crumbs on it and half a can of an energy drink. Set the pizza down amid the mess and stepped away, and I realized it wasn't quite my apartment. Close, but not exact. That was a different plate on the coffee table. A generic white plate, not the exact chipped one that I always used that I got at a thrift store as part of a set. The dishes in the sink were similar, but not my exact dishes. The coffee table was the same brand but newer, not the free one I'd pulled off the curb. It was like someone took a picture of my apartment and recreated a slightly more generic version of it. But it wasn't my home. Weird, creepy, I had a lot of questions for my boss. But at least I knew it wasn't actually my place. I was about to leave when I saw it. And this time, this wasn't a replica. It was the urn that held my dog's ashes, literally the only thing in my apartment I cared about. All I had left of Daisy, with the handwritten messages from me and my siblings saying goodbye. I had every loop and swirl of our handwriting memorized. Whoever this customer was, they'd taken this urn from its sacred place on the electronics cabinet next to the router and PlayStation. It's a small apartment. But it was mine. I started to reach for it, then I stopped. I kid you not, I thought I heard a dog bark outside. Anyway, the dog barking was enough of a distraction for me to remember the red flag. And did I really need that urn to sit on my shelf? How long would it live there? The rest of my life? And did Daisy even care at this point? No. Of course not. Daisy, when she was alive, would have given it one sniff and ignored it. So perhaps it was time to pay attention to the red flag and step back outside. Maybe the dog barking was a sign I should leave it. So I stepped back outside, closing the door of my fake apartment behind me, and headed back down the metal stairs. I was approaching my car when footsteps brought my head up. "Hey girl," rasped a voice behind me. I turned around. The girl leering at me wore a t-shirt with the same pizza delivery logo as mine. She was about my age, but her skin had a grayish mottled color. She definitely smelled, even at a distance, like something rotting. Around her neck she wore a choker necklace made of some sort of black spiky material. Dino, wasn't it? You might make it longer than the last girl. She held something in her hand, the urn with my dog's ashes. But as she held it up, it blurred and unfurled into something black and spiny. It looked like a necklace, similar to the one she was wearing. She winked at me and said, "Do me a favor, since you have this chance. Get a uniform in your size. I prefer to look good when I wear someone new. Oh, and don't always trust the boss. There's a red flag for him. Too, I got out of there quick." Now, I'm sitting in a parking lot in the delivery car, and I'm trying to decide if I should head back to work. Obviously, I need to return the car, but beyond that, should I just quit? I still need rent money, but after meeting the previous girl, maybe moving back in with my parents is the better option. Maybe I'll do just one more delivery if I don't update. Might mean I'm saying hi to Daisy again sooner than I expected. Howdy. Your friendly neighborhood pizza delivery Dino here, with the latest tips on how to stay alive in this gig economy. My previous post about red flags to watch out for, for the record, most of the customer requests are pretty standard. Wear a funny hat, do a funny dance, shout a funny phrase. Usually just stuff to brighten up someone's day. The red flags, though, are for the special customer requests. When I say red flag, I mean red sticky notes on the pizza boxes. Usually written all in caps, in case the redness isn't emphasis enough for how important they are. Some examples of recent red flag deliveries include: leave pizza outside room 665. Keep headphones with music on at all times while in the hotel. Never remove headphones. Or, do not pet the cat. The red flags are never as simple as they seem. Take the hotel, for example. A swanky 4-star resort with bellhops and a smiling concierge. Always the same. Elevator up to room 665. Leave the pizza outside the door, back down to the lobby, and out of the hotel with headphones on and the music cranked. But on my most recent delivery to that hotel, my phone battery died. As soon as the music died, I heard only silence. Even though all the patrons around me were speaking. Even though the concierge was babbling. One couple was conversing right next to me, their mouths moving and no sound coming out. All the hairs on my neck stood on end. Then I realized the concierge was watching me. He opened his mouth and I quickly got into the elevator and went up to the 6th floor. Luckily, there was an outlet nearby and I had my charger. I plugged in my phone and hurried to room 665. Here, the silence was less spooky since there was nobody around. "Help!" cried a voice within. I froze. "Please, don't leave this time. Please, help me. You've got to bring help." The pleas went on and on. Had the person inside always been shouting for help, and I'd never heard before because of the headphones and loud music? When I stood there hesitating, the voice seemed encouraged. "You can hear me. Don't go, just wait right there. Please. Your life depends on it." I looked at the red flag on the pizza box. Leave pizza outside room 665. Keep headphones with music on at all times while in the hotel. Never remove headphones. and I set the pizza down and walked away like I always did. Retrieved my phone and charger and put my headphones on. In the lobby, I turned my phone on and the music up. The battery lasted the 30 seconds it took me to cross to the front doors, and I don't know if anyone spoke to me or called to me because I was blasting Baby Shark, a song I figured not even hell could get through. I do think often about that voice in room 665 though, and I wonder whether I should have helped the girl inside, or whether it was wise to leave her there. I wonder if it will come back to bite me. It sounded like my voice. If you're wondering why I keep working under such dubious, hazardous, almost definitely illegal conditions, it's the same reason I once considered stripping. It pays good money. Turns out I haven't got the body for stripping, or the strength, dexterity, charisma, or dancing skills, or any of the things strippers require to actually be good at their job once I Googled it for 2 seconds. A shame, because I would make a damn good stripper if I had a different body and a different personality. The best way to make a lot of money as a lazy person is to be born into a rich family. My parents failed me on that account, and my rent doesn't pay itself. I have given some serious thought, though, to the advice telling me to find out the boss's red flag, assuming the previous delivery girl was telling the truth about him. The boss is very secretive, and whenever I ask him about anything he snaps, "Your job is to deliver pizzas, not questions." Finding his secrets out would be easier if I could Google him, but I unfortunately don't know his name. How is it I've been running deliveries for weeks and don't know his name? Weirdly enough, it's not on anything in the pizzeria or on our website. And the thing is, I forgot to ask when he first hired me, and kept intending to, but he always had jobs for me right away. And now it's been so long since I started working that it would just be really awkward. So I'm just praying it never comes up in conversation. Cowardly? Sure lazy? Definitely, I've been just calling him boss though, and he seems fine with it. Anyway, I finally had a chance to do some snooping last week when a job came in. The boss wrote on the receipt while on the phone, and when he hung up told me, $50 tip for topless delivery, slapping the receipt on the box. Ew, I said. Nope, I thought you needed money. I have standards. He arched an eyebrow. My rumpled t-shirt read, "The secret to success is low standards." Low standards. I underlined the word standards with my finger in demonstration. Not no standards. Fine. He untied his apron. You watch the store. Huh? Seriously? He was trusting me to manage the place? I'd barely gotten out a grunt of surprise before the boss slung off his shirt and snatched up the pizza box. I think I gawked. A silverback would have been envious of his gloriously hairy back. I'm talking like a full magic carpet. If you shaved him, you could knit a sweater or 3. Hey, he said, eyes up here. Sorry, I busied myself at the counter, tying on an apron since, I guessed. I was now on pizza duty. Just one thing, he pointed over his head as he opened the door and the bell jangled. If the bell doesn't ring, there's no customer. So don't speak to anything you see in here that he ain't the customer. Capiche, Dino? Dino, I muttered. Like Dinosaur, which is my full name in case you missed my first entry. I remind him basically every time he says my name, and one day I even came to work in a full hood with dinosaur teeth and a face to help him remember, like the kind kids sometimes wear. His face lit up when he saw me. Whoa, hey, look, he said, grinning big. It's a Dinosaur. So I mean, at this point, he's definitely doing it on purpose. Anyway, did I capiche? I didn't even know how to spell capiche. Turns out it's capiche. I was still mulling over his directions and asked him, what if I see something and it's a customer? He growled, then the bell will fucking ring, won't it? Okie dokie. When the boss was gone, I went snooping around, and in a drawer of a desk, I found my resume. now stained with grease and a scrawl in the boss's handwriting. Dino. Good omen? So apparently the boss had barely glanced at my mediocre credentials and instead hired me just based on my name, which he thought was a good omen and definitely knew how to pronounce. I put the resume back and gasped when I looked up. Standing at the counter, peering over the desserts case, was an old woman. "Oh," I said. "Hello." I didn't at that moment. I realized I hadn't heard the bell ring. Didn't get that pizza out of the oven yet. Dino, tsk, you stegosaurus brain. Better go and grab it. "Come on, girl. You need to remember to do your job," I kept on babbling, pretending I'd been talking to myself while the old woman's eyebrows lifted, and she frowned and leaned closer, squinting at me like she wasn't sure if I genuinely overlooked her or was faking it. She looked like an ordinary old lady, but in the pastry casing, the reflection in the glass her mouth was wide and gaping and opening wider ding-ding. The bell above the door jangled as the boss came in. I looked up with relief. The old woman was gone. He took one look at my face and snapped. "The fuck you do? You got that look. Look? Your yuppish look. You break a rule? Yuppish. That fucking look. You talk to anything strange?" Nope-ish. Since then, I've decided I prefer managing deliveries to watching the store. At least the boss got the 50 for doing the delivery topless. "I made sure they paid," he growled ominously. Then he handed the bill to me and said, "For managing the store. You take care of them red flags. I'll take care of the everyday creeps." "Deal," I said. But the job that really got to me, the one that makes me think that maybe, just maybe, I should get my act together and write a better resume and get a regular minimum wage job that'll barely cover my rent, was yesterday's delivery. Most of the day was ordinary deliveries. No red flags, which meant no big tips, no bonuses. So by the time I got a pizza with a red flag, I was actually happy about it. This was a new one. It read, "Do not let the bunny mascot suit see you." The address was to a shopping mall kiosk, and the boss told me this one was a little more difficult, and to absolutely make sure not to be a yuppish about it. Then he gave me $200 and added, 50 if you make it back. Mildly disconcerting, but I wasn't going to complain about the extra incentive. $200 for an hour round trip delivery, plus 50? What a great gig, as long as I don't die. But his extra warnings had me super cautious as I pulled into the parking lot of the shopping mall. Unlike a lot of malls these days, this one wasn't run down or spooky with empty storefronts. It was a pretty classic mall, like in the heyday way back, whenever people thought it was cool to hang out at shopping malls. Smoothie shop, clothing shops, a sneaker store, a toy store at a glance through the double doors. I didn't see any mascot. I wanted to be careful though. So I didn't enter right away. I kept checking, staying to one side of the doors, the part of the frame that's metal, so I couldn't be so easily seen while peeking through the glass. No bunny mascot. No any mascot. I did, however, see the jewelry kiosk. I was supposed to drop the pizzas at this small kiosk with shiny bracelets and earrings, and an impatient woman who spotted me and kept trying to wave me over. And after one last look around, I pushed open the door, walked straight to the kiosk, and handed the pizzas to the grateful-looking seller who handed me a $5. The mall still seemed clear, and I glanced at the red flag again as I was turning away. Do not let the bunny mascot suit see you. Not the person in the bunny mascot suit. Just the bunny mascot suit. Must have been a mistake, or maybe just the boss's shorthand. Anyway, I just pocketed the $5 and was about to walk away when I finally saw the bunny mascot. It was one of those mall Easter bunnies, cream-colored with chubby cheeks and buck teeth and flat black mesh eyes that, if you look close, you can see through. I was still too far away, though. It stood in the hallway leading off to the bathrooms, and it was staring right at me. Shit. I sprinted straight out to the car, and without looking back, drove out of the parking lot. I finally breathed easy once I got onto the highway and headed back to the pizzeria. When I got back, as soon as I walked through the doors, the cell dinging overhead, I asked my boss why not let the bunny mascot suit see me. What happens if they do? He made eye contact and then looked deadpan behind me. I turned. The bunny mascot was at the window, paws on the glass, staring straight in at me. Only now I was close enough to see clearly through the black mesh of its eyes into the suit. And it didn't look like there was a person inside, so maybe that hadn't been the boss's shorthand after all. Quick, snapped the boss. Surrender something important. What are you okay losing? An eye? A finger? What? I glanced back at him, then at the window. The mascot was gone. I hadn't heard the bell ring. But when I turned around, I screamed. It was looming over me, just behind me. And its mouth? Face? Was open. I could smell a rotten whiff from inside. This is the only time I'm doing this, sighed the boss. And out of the corner of my eye, I was scared to look away from the mascot. I glimpsed him grab one of the knives and lay his hand down on the cutting board, and then quickly, with barely a wince, chop, a thick, hairy-knuckled finger spattered on the counter. I screamed. The bunny turned. Here you go. The boss came out from behind the counter and put the severed finger in the bunny's outstretched paw. The bunny clapped the paw to its open face, seeming to swallow the finger. Then it turned and walked out of the store. Hush, said the boss as he bandaged his hand while I shrieked my head off. He told me other deliveries are waiting. Normal ones. Get to it. What else was there for me to do? I took the pizzas, trying not to stare at the boss's bloody hand with its missing finger, and I went and did the deliveries. After that, he sent me home for the day, claiming I needed sick time. When I came in this morning, after much debate about whether I should or not, I found him slicing peppers to put on a pizza, and his hands were whole. No missing digits. When I asked the boss what happened to his finger, he just asked what I was talking about and played dumb. That Easter bunny costume with nobody in it, I told him. He saw you give it a finger. What? Like this? He flipped me the bird and laughed. I stared thinking maybe it was the gloves that made his hands appear whole, but he took them off after he finished chopping, and he still had 5 hairy-knuckled fingers on each hand. I squinted, and finally I told him, your pinky finger is lighter than the rest, like it hasn't gotten as much sun. And the nail is clean, no dirt, almost like a brand new finger. He considered me with a sigh, and finally said, y'all want to know why I call you Dino and not Dino, kid? Why? 'Cause dinosaurs, they went extinct. I don't want you to go the way of the dinos. A pause as I registered this rare note of affection from my boss. He had, after all, saved me from whatever that thing was. And despite my breaking a rule, he hadn't fired me. I thought about his comment about my name and said, that's sweet, but that's totally not the reason, is it? No, it's 'cause I forget 'cause the name's supposed to be Dino. What kind of parent names their kid a dinosaur? Actually, it was me who chose the name. Explains a lot, he grunted. Anyway, that's what happened when I fully, completely broke a rule. I told my brother about the mascot thing, and he asked if I was high and where he could get whatever I was on. I mean, yes, I was height. That's the only reason I told him. I can't really talk about this job with family, and the boss isn't much of a conversationalist. So I decided it's helpful to write this stuff down. I might quit tomorrow. If you don't hear any more updates, either I'm applying for other jobs, or I finally gave in and petted that cat at it. Hey, I forgot to add. For the Dio not pet the catrool, I took pics on my last delivery. One look at this little guy and you'll understand why my immediate thought was, so this is how I die. I mean, just look at him. If a red flag takes me out, it's probably going to be this one. Though I admit he's slightly less cute if you obey the rule and leave him glaring at you.